What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, I have a quick Solana update for you, as I do believe that a very big, probably even bad move is coming for Solana over the next couple of days. And so for that reason, I don't want to waste any time at all, and I want to get straight into today's video because I do believe it is extremely important. Now, I know I haven't posted a Solana video in about 5 days. That was because I did go to Las Vegas for my 21st birthday, of course. That was absolutely an amazing time, but we are back, and I just want to let you guys know what I'm seeing because I just think that this could be leading to something pretty ugly here. Okay, now in the last video I told you guys about this $43.42 level. I said based off of these previous support establishments, resistance establishments, and just overall solidification of a key zone of resistance and support, that I would not be buying Solana unless we got back above 43.42. And as you can see, we did come straight up to this key level of resistance. We bounced back off to the downside, which confirms that we were right in saying that this is the level that we need to get above before getting too bullish. And since that happened, we can see that we got that rejection and this push to the downside. Now, off of this push to the downside, if we go ahead and just pull out our Fibonacci's real quick, you can see that we came directly down to our 618 to 786 box, and we are now getting a bounce off of this key level of support back to the upside. So that is a good thing, right? Of course, although we did get a strong rejection off this key level of resistance, we are at least establishing some type of support and at least trying to the top side here. But the problem I'm seeing right now is that this is beginning to look extremely bearish. This bounce is looking extremely bearish. It's running way too fast, and it does seem as if with this possible bearish engulfing candle that we could be en route back towards the $20 to $30 level. Now, let's go ahead and let's zoom down into the 4-hour chart so I can show this a little bit more clearly. But what I mean is that we are starting to see it just again, it ran too fast. If you look at the slope from this high to this high, and you compare it with the RSI, in which we go from this high to this high, you can see the difference, right? And the difference is not necessarily technically bearish divergence, because although we do have, the lower highs and the lower highs as well, there is still the difference, and the difference still counts, right? And so what we can see is that this thing has gone from bottom to top way too fast in comparison to, the bottom to top that we saw back here. We didn't even get halfway up this mountain, while this RSI nearly set an equivalent high to what we saw previously back around $43. If we look at history, let's look what happens when this RSI moves too fast. Let's look at it in comparison from this high right here to the next high. Boom, right here. You can see here, right, we did set in this lower high, or the lower high and the lower high, but this RSI ran too fast, and since it ran too fast, we saw that correction back to the downside which looked like 25% of a correction, right? If we just continue back in time, let's go and let's look at what happened back at the end of May here. You can see from this high down to this high, we did see a case of bearish divergence, boom, play out. And as we did see this difference in the slope, the difference in this RSI and the price in which the RSI ran up too fast, it led to this correction to the downside. This correction here looked like a pull to the downside of over 45%. And this goes on and on and on and on. If we used to look at one more example, let's get rid of this. As you can see, let's just go back here, okay? What we can see is as this did play out, we did go ahead and put in, boom, let's call it, let's go to small example. Boom, this high, boom, this high, this high, this high. As you can see, lower highs, higher highs, strong correction to the downside. Every time this 4-hour RSI runs too fast, we continue to the downside. And so as we are seeing it run too fast, I am starting to worry and fear that we could possibly see another pull towards the downside. So for that reason, I am starting to prepare my next move. Now, my next move is going to be a short on Solana. Now, the time in which I would short Solana is going to be around $31.64. The reason I say that is because Solana has a tendency that if it sets a macro lower low, it is likely going to continue down to the next lower low. And what I mean by that is usually if we lose this macro low that we set right here, more often than not, we will start to aim at the next low, which is currently sitting around $27. Now, in between the, this, let's go ahead and call it $31.64 level and $27 level, we can see that there is a fall of, roughly 11% there. And that is something that I want to take advantage of. The issue that we can see is that if we do lose this, if we do come down to $27, we have then lost the 786 point, which usually means we're going to fall back to the range low around $26. So the thing is that if we lose this low Our breakdown target is this low, which puts us under this key point of support, which likely brings us to this low. Okay, so that's the reason I'm starting to think like, okay, we could see quite an ugly crash here, which does look like it's going to the mid to high $20 level. So for that reason, I will be opening up a short trade if at any given point Solana does fall below $31.64. I will be setting a stop loss on it. The stop loss will then be set at this trend line here. I just drew a line from, of course, the high that we put in here, the high that we put in here, and if at any given point we do break above this line, I will be closing that short trade, as I would likely be wrong, and from there we are likely to continue back up to maybe even the mid 30s to high 40s, or mid to high 30s. So for that reason, that is kind of just my just in case. I will be putting that stop loss there, but overall I do believe that there's a strong possibility that if we do continue back below 31.64, we do continue to some of these lower, the higher 20s to possibly even the mid 20s, which could be anywhere between, a fall of somewhere, let's call this let's say about 8 to up to 18%, okay, at the loss of 31.64. And so I really just wanted to warn you guys that this is a possibility, especially as we are seeing Bitcoin struggling to maintain that $20,000 level. So overall, it is something to pay very, very close attention to. I think that it's worth noting that if you are going short in a market like this, you shouldn't be doing it with a lot of money. You shouldn't be doing it with a lot of leverage, and you should not be doing it at all if you don't understand how it works. So I do recommend you do your research before taking on a trade of that nature. Personally speaking, I do understand all those things. I'm not going in with a lot of money, but I do want to figure out ways to make gains, even in a market where everyone is seeing red. It's worked for us amazingly, especially over in the Patreon. We're 7 for 7 in our last Bitcoin short trades, so we are keeping that train going, and Solana is the next one that I'm looking to take up on. If you do want to know when I do make this trade, all the exact information, when I get in, that when I get out, and all of that good stuff, do go check out the Patreon. It's down in the link in the description, or you can wait to the next video when I do a recap of that trade, but it will likely be over by then. So with that said, that's going to be about it for today's video. Of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new, and I will see you all next time. Peace.